The Night the Angels Came is quite a different book from Cathy Glass. As with my most recent reviews, this is a book that I had read before, and I'm rereading it because I've decided to go back and read all of Cathy Glass's books in chronological order this time, rather than the haphazard order that I read them in the last time. This one is different because there is no problem child, if you like. There is no child with behavioural issues or any reasons why they would move between carers, and there is no parent who has problems with parenting or who needs extra support. Everybody is, for all intents and purposes, doing a pretty good job at the role that they have. The reason this is different is because Cathy is looking after a young boy because his father is terminally ill. And that makes it very different. She starts to look after Michael occasionally as respite whenever his father, I don't want to use the phrase takes a turn because that sounds too flippant, but whenever he has a particularly bad spell and he needs to have a short stay in hospital to recover, Cathy looks after Michael with the intention that once Michael's father, Patrick, goes into hospital or into a hospice for palliative care on a full-time basis and he can't look after Michael, Michael will then stay with Cathy. And throughout the narrative, if you like, Cathy spends a lot of time with Michael, of course, but also with Patrick. And because she grows close with Patrick, we as the reader get to know more about Patrick and Michael and various hardships that they've had to face and reasons why Michael has, nobody else to go to in his family and things. But there are people in Patrick's life who are there to support him, and there are various supporting characters, if you like, that make this certainly a bit more padded out and a bit more interesting. We obviously have to take these memoirs with a pinch of salt. Enough information has been changed so that the characters, if you like, are not identifiable as real people. So I don't know how much of this is fabricated, but I think the basic concept is there that Cathy had to look after somebody because their parent was terminally unwell. And because it deals with such a hard subject that a lot of people will relate to, unfortunately, I think it can be quite emotional, but I will say it is the least compelling. And that's because it's not surprising. Most of Cathy Glass's books are full of twists and turns where children throw up unexpected behaviours or parents do things that are unexpected, or there's a really irritating social worker who gets in the way of things and it makes things really gripping. This one is soft, gentle, delicate, considerate, but predictable. And that, yes, I'm reading it the second time round, but the first time I read it, the same thing as well. I felt like it was very linear. Everything made a lot of sense. Nothing was surprising. And that means that it's not the most interesting to read. So for a second read, I'd forgotten a lot of it, but I could still predict most of it. But it just wasn't that interesting. And the title itself, I think, obviously designed to evoke interest, I feel gives away too much. And I think they could have kept some mystery back and gave more hope. I don't know, maybe false hope is a bad thing with this kind of thing, but certainly I feel like it was the most predictable of all of her books, the least interesting. Maybe for people who are currently going through this heartbreaking situation, it will be comforting, and that's obviously a really brilliant thing, but just comparing it to her other books, it's the one that I find the least interesting. It's not badly written. It's not void of emotion, quite the opposite. But I think it's one of the least interesting. And also Cathy is displaying some difficult behaviours because she was warned by her supporting social worker that she's not to get too close to Patrick because of what's happening. And understandably, she lets her guard down and doesn't listen, which I completely get. But it's unusual that Cathy would display behaviours that go against what she has been advised. So there are a lot of things about this that make it a very different reading experience to the rest of her memoirs. It's not bad. I didn't dislike it. I didn't regret rereading it. But if I were to rank all of her books, which maybe maybe once I've done this I will. Maybe once I've reread them all I will. But for me, I'd say The Night the Angels Came would be near the bottom of that list.